Hey guys, there has been a new update of the Bell 47-2G by Flyinside, and as you can see they addressed the issue of the rotor blades being too straight. They now look a little bit curved and much more like the original. New chapter in the battle of the Bell 47s, let's jump inside and see what they changed. First thing I notice is when I push the pedals all the way through, the impact on the RPM of the engine is much less accentuated as it was on initial release. Another thing that I was complaining about was the weird panning of the sounds when you change your viewpoint. Apparently that has been addressed as well, so you do hear a good stereo panorama at all times. So let's pick it up. We are close to maximum takeoff weight. Let's see how much power the engine will give us. Rolling on more throttle as I raise the collective. Always listen to the engine sound. You will hear a drop in RPM without looking at the gauge. We're up, as you can hear, we're a little low on RPM, so I'm just rolling on more throttle. And what can I say, the flight model definitely has been changed. You see me struggling a few seconds until I am at a stable hover. In the first version, the response to cyclic inputs was very direct, much more direct than I would have expected it to in a Bell 47, and they indeed changed that. Your cyclic inputs now are a little delayed and they have less effect on the attitude of the helicopter. It now indeed feels much more like a two-bladed teetering rotor system. We also can see that we have a good reserve on power, so we're not close to the manifold pressure limit, even though we are pretty close to maximum takeoff weight. Also, it seems that the amount of throttling I need to do to keep the RPM in the green has been dialed down a little. So the flight model in general is a little more docile, and you need to push and nudge it a little bit more to make it move. Now this not only shows that Flyinside is eager to improve their product and they listen to us users, they might also have modified their flight model in response to Brett Sumter's freeware Bell 47, which differed quite a lot in the interpretation of the handling characteristics of that specific helicopter. Even though I did like the rather responsive flight model of the previous version, this one is actually much closer to Sumter's interpretation of the bird. Another problem of the previous version was the lack of fine control during touchdown phase, so I wasn't really able to set it down gently. I'm going to try for that now. As you can see, it is very easy to get into oscillations on the roll axis. Now slowly lowering collective while keeping a stable hover. Yep, fine control is definitely better now. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it has improved a lot. It also seems that the landing gear is programmed to be rather stiff, so it's easy to get that sort of resonance bouncing from one skid to the other after touchdown. In the outside view, you can see that the helicopter does not move as smooth as other helicopters in X-Plane. That might be due to Flyinside using their own plugin to simulate the helicopter movements. Well, let's pick it up again and taxi to the runway. Alright, gaining a little speed to get into ETL. After all, we're pretty heavy. I'm raising the collective just a little bit as I push the nose forward. And don't forget to check for the RPM needle in the green. That's where it's supposed to be. Whoops. Alright, definitely this new flight model gives us a greater power margin. The previous version seemed to be a little bit underpowered, but that's actually what I liked about it. You really had to be careful not to overload the engine. Anyway, the real Bell 47-2G is quite a lot more powerful, so they've changed that. As I already said, you need less and smaller manual throttle inputs to keep the RPM needle in the green. One thing I wondered about, to me it seems that the aircraft has a right skid low attitude in cruise as well as in the hover. Translating tendency isn't that strong in a Bell 47, however I would expect it to lead to a slight left skid low attitude. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it, but you might already have noticed. They fixed the replay issue. You've been watching the replay of my touchdown earlier. So there have been numerous major improvements to the flight model, and that shows that Flyinside is very well willing to go the extra mile for us. Now let's fast forward again. On approach to a nice little helicopter landing site here. So they improved on the flight model a lot, which is a good thing. It now feels much more like a two-bladed teetering rotor system, very forgiving and a little bit laggy in response to control inputs. It also is now a more powerful aircraft, so this one is definitely much closer to the rendition that Brett Sumter released as freeware about a month ago. Funnily enough, though, as these new flight model improvements probably will give us a more realistic representation of the real aircraft, to me personally it becomes a little more boring to fly. I really like that you had to sort of treat the previous flight model so delicately in terms of power management. That was quite a challenge to me. But in the end, yeah, we do not want an aircraft that is unrealistic. We want it to be as close to the original as is possible in a sim. And it's great to see that Flyinside really cares about its customers and its product. I can say that all of the issues that I had with the product have been addressed. And if you do have a problem, just go to their forum, they will help you out. So for the landing, notice the aircraft wants to hang a little bit right skid low. I have to give a left cyclic to oppose that tendency. And as I said, it's very easy to get into oscillations on the roll axis. Hovering itself is not that difficult, it feels very natural. It's definitely easier than it was before. Once you're over your spot, maintain a stable hover and slowly reduce collective. Yeah, I'm still very much in doubt about that right skid low attitude. That's the way I need to fly it in order to stay over the same spot. So all in all, a lot of improvements. I would say a completely new flight model. The handling characteristics are now quite a bit different from the previous version. The aircraft is more powerful. You do have more fine control on touchdown. The correlator seems to be quite a bit more effective, so not as much manual throttle input needed. The main blades look much more realistic now. Now this concludes my little revisiting of the Bell 47-2G by Flyinside after their latest update. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope to see you around next time. Ta!